Let's talk to Mike van Dulken. He is the head of research at Accendo Markets. Very good morning to you, young Mike.
Morning.
Right, 3 stocks to cover in this segment. Let's kick off with Segro PLC. This is a short-term chart. What are your observations?
Well, you say short term, it's actually still 6 months. But I think if we can look at the other chart to show slightly longer term, just to show where we sit, we've been in that narrowing channel and thankfully it broke to the upside. So now if we could zoom back in again to look at that shorter 6 month, we're in a new slightly steeper rising channel. But what really caught my eye recently was the bullish bounce. So we've got the respecting a kind of hammer reversal, a 3-day reversal, a bounce off triple support. So we've got horizontal and 2 sets of rising support. So it has a lot in its favor. The volume could have ticked up a little bit more. We can see at the bottom of the chart there's no real spike, but it's not the be all and end all. And I mean, I haven't shown the technical chart here, but stochastics are oversold, momentum is off its lows, etc., etc. In terms of the story, these guys are involved in warehouses, which are increasingly needed for delivery of all the stuff we're buying online.
Yep.
That stuff needs to be delivered to somewhere local for it to be delivered by more and more local drivers, and they're snapping up the space for that, and it's being filled rapidly. The more we do, the more they'll need. So
the technicals almost agreeing with the fundamentals.
They do. I mean, it's always helpful. It's not the be all and end all. Don't forget, short-term trading can see the technicals totally at odds, positively at odds with a negative story. But that doesn't matter. If the shares show that they're looking to make a certain move, that's the move you're looking to trade. If the fundamentals do support it, that's all the better. But for the moment, yeah, there's potential there for the shares too. I mean, there is longer term resistance up at 750, but that's a fair way away. I mean, it's around a 5% move would take it to £7, which is still handsome enough.
Okay, let's move on to Mondi PLC. What are your thoughts there?
Again, another one nicely linked to e-commerce, in that these are the guys in all the paper and packaging. Now, that's not their sole business. They do deal in a lot of consumer goods and the packaging and the stuff that we buy in the shops. But again, we're only buying more stuff. E-commerce does help in all that stuff that needs to be not just transported but protected within that transport. So the fundamentals are supportive. It's actually based out of South Africa, so it does benefit from a weaker rand. Although on the flip side, that does mean it is currency sensitive. But the recent results were solid. Again, we got a bounce off here, twin support, and there's a little bit of an increase in volume there yesterday on the day 3 of the bounce. So that's another feather in its cap, if you like. And again, on the technical standpoint, it shows that the shares were oversold, which is in line with this. So potential there for the shares to at least revisit the recent highs, which do go all the way back to October. Otherwise, potential for a continuation of that rising channel. It may well find resistance again before turning down, but we're only looking to capitalise on that near-term move.
Yep, like that. Okay, let's wrap up with Berkeley Group. Obviously, some bad numbers recently.
Yes. In fact, I think we may have even talked about this as when it was at the top of the range for a potential short. I think it had broken that uptrend, and it had broken below the recent lows. The results came along, the shares absolutely slumped. But what's interesting is the declines have slowed up, and we've had 3 days on the trot where it's tried around that 37.50, possibly a shade lower, but not gone any lower. And for it to do that 3 days and 4 days on the trot, including today, has allowed us to draw that new trend line from the lows back in November, below the lows of March. So there's potential here. We're not saying it's going to bounce, but there is potential.
But if you shorted that at the top of the range, you'd be looking to cover that short if you were a sort of day trader, wouldn't you?
Exactly. And I imagine most people probably had. I mean, I think that was a 10% return. So they probably have already done so, in which case the likelihood of seeing a huge short squeeze now is probably behind us.
Yeah.
That said, there's a possibility for the shares to regain interest, having sold off by 10%, for a revisit or a move back towards the top of that channel. That's not to say all the fundamentals of the UK housing market are totally in its favour. We acknowledge that, but I think technically, after a 10% sell-off, we know full well there are plenty of people out there who are interested in stocks which have sold off hard for a possibility of bargain hunting and a near-term recovery. So again, if that channel wants to continue, there could be upsides to £44.
Mike, on that note, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.